The place are in a crisis, what an atrocious, infectious era. There's the full bubble, so that's my era. There's commentations everywhere. Our guys are under the spell of exhaustion. Can we even find our guys that are sort of on casual setting? Probably considerable for a different dimension or a different topic. Usually when we start to mention why not of the sort of similar of the current standard English, it doesn't support to use it once a person notices, especially of a proper candidate of proper positions then sort of more of thieves or lesser of an area. When the words are, when it's known, there are 26 alphabets. Notice the words from bad to good to winners or to winnings, also losses. At least there's probably a bit of problematic factor there, while others has to adapt. If it's overwhelmingly lots of different persons from different variety, also they have achieved a lot that disagree upon this and that, or hold a bit of disagreement towards it, then that probably indicates something of. Usually when we start to mention something, it is generic language, also generic fonts. Bigger guys should be doing big stuff, or important figures should be doing, or prominent members of a society should be doing large projects. They're holding a lot of persons back while there's been this sterilization of persons with education. This LYG, also GH, they are atrocious. They're doing the worst. They don't directly identify them as enemies. It seems to be almost hijacked by certain forces. Sort of. The original bubble was hijacked by the cerebral. After all, they cannot sing proper. They're not sort of bad at singing, or not decent enough considering for their role. If this needs to be solidly appointed, then clearly there is no support. By the way, already by today, there aren't so much vigorous self-volunteer towards, or probably volunteer towards support of Hitler. That indicates something. That's how many anti-Hitlerists there are. Recent days, probable countable or probable calendar unit of days of recent for probable also days of countable of their numerous notes happening. How vigorous has the band should be is going to give a reminder along with the pseudo reason. That's as if it's not so bad, but it's every single moment. Our guys aren't very much number a while there. Kind of a brutal force, even though it's we stress brutal word was the factor of it. That's sort of its default mode. Gotta listen to your mother and the leeches speak. The leeches also speak about what is in there of Nazis. Proper council of both occasions. It's not stated. Suppose we ask to support Hitler, then they could invite to on an essay, or ask, we agree, tend to agree, but isn't this not the situation? Was the utter astounding memory? These are hijacked numbers with mass, sort of brilliant numbers. At ways, reason for probable ways of they can counter high technology persons because our numbers are so few compared with. Suppose person, this is from real data, right? Our guys, almost anybody with a project or any group with a project, it's the information has been posted. It's also registered at patent. Just what the heck happened to this place, right? The nuclear bombs won't be enough to destroy the lab, but this is not to mix with the sort of the unnecessary sorrow. This is from fugitive'es on sorrow or unnecessary sorrowfulness is a standard, or it's sort of not unnecessary. For probable also sort of sorrow has. Usually when we mention something, if it doesn't mention certain dysfunction, of certain entities, therefore it does become, oh, we didn't write it before. There are plenty of pseudo these could arbitrarily state in with a while as if, oh, couldn't you do this? But also it's the reason or how it is able to complete this because there's not a single society by the way. Also the numerous persons are or they result of common persons like capacitated. Also, they're not that much numbered occurrences, especially by this degeneration. While the numerous of the dramatists gotten tremendous electedness, they can go to any restaurant, they can invade any theme parks, or go to as much places as sort of Prince Edward does. While Prince Edward wears a hat, or he has the title, he's a king, then comes all these assassination attempts or thinking about assassinating him, whether due to some lunatic that's too drunk or some fetish. While the fetish doesn't stick with them, or they doesn't pay their social upkeep, or sort of doesn't learn to, or also not responsible without the responsibility of being a prince. Reasonable for probable of case of king, or of kings of the reasonable for probable of case of title of king, they doesn't pay the they doesn't have that responsibility. Reasonable doesn't do the reasonable for probable doesn't have the responsibilities of a while minus the danger. At this society, it is not a society. It is lawless. It is major degenerate, to the point that we are constantly finding evidences whether our guys are doing decent. We're finding these sort of checking whether our person are there, whether they are dominating. Our guys are not dominating. So far behind. Usually when it's so far behind, it becomes English. Although it could always apply, or the person might be just saying it. If it's from Nazis, it could apply to anything. They might have stated the moon is fake, or the moon is something, or reason thereof, or probable reason of, or probable reason thereof, or probable enough, or reason for probable, or probable, or reason for probable. The moon attacks certain countries. May not be present because of reason mentioned there. Proper reason thereof suitable of wicked contribute towards it. Days before, we just found out how Zionists, or the Da Vinci's Code has a reason for proper summer has been solved. It didn't bring much changes. Then what was all that about? I mean, how to express it? Persons are supposed there's no example on how to express it. It's something so major. While all these enemies are going to criticize us for mentioning it, there's nothing wrong with Hitler. Nothing wrong. He's a general person. He helps others. Other cases of all sort of he still bit stuff. How does that related? When it's Nazis commenting sort of as with others. All these accountancies, that all these ugly persons, reason for ugly persons, they're fake, they're frauds, they don't contribute to society. They're at least mentally also dysfunctional of the lots of the notice the reduciveness of the cases of extreme ignorance. That's probably come from how they're malfunctional, reasonable or proper reasonable proper dysfunctional. It is generic language of we're not gonna get out reasonable proper accountable of generic language of we're not gonna properly counter of them sort of with the disciplined attitude. This is being a fight towards the notice in the proofs was said in the opposite. Supposedly it wasn't sort of a nuclear about to reach to sort of nuclear bombing again, because or suppose it wasn't, people would be wearing shinier clothes, they would be more willing to. Festivity isn't there sort of isn't, and that's sort of the statement about it. Those are the those considerable for a bit of evidences. Gotta hit on a dollar, it almost ignores some of the sense. That can be difficult to be done. It's not therefore it's going to be easily done. It's supposed to be difficultly easy. How is that? Reason thereof or proper also. Reason thereof or proper. That's probably sort of reason of proper, or how I that so as of. We'll be back in we'll be back at a couple minutes.